Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the last panel session of day one. So today for this panel on mobile money integration of payment for pay TV and OTT, I have the pleasure to welcome Rachel Nguli, Product and Services Manager at M-Pesa Safaricom, Saki Opuku, Head of Remittance Services, Tigo M-Pesa Militum, Tanzania, James Chuna, Country Director, Airtel Money, Airtel Zambia. And finally, David Mansare, CEO, Orange Mobile Finance at Orange Sierra Leone. And this panel will be moderated by Tamima Ibrahim from Switch TV Kenya.
Thank you, Shana. So maybe just to let our participants know that if you have any questions, feel free to throw them at us throughout the entire discussion. And obviously, we have a very rich panel here with a breadth of experience, particularly in this particular sector. So maybe just to jump straight into it, and if everybody could just maybe share with us some insights on the development of the mobile money market in your territory. And obviously, we are looking to understand the size of the market, the service penetration, and the state of the competition. So ladies first, let me start with you, Rachel.
Hello, thank you for having us today. As you've heard from Safaricom, which is one of the telcos, the leading telcos actually in Kenya, East Africa, one of our key, or rather our parent company is Vodafone Group and Vodacom in South Africa, Vodafone in the UK, and in Sub-Saharan Africa in Kenya, we are Safaricom, the lead market with a 60% market share, 99% mobile penetration when you look at the Communication Authority of Kenya statistics. We are actually the market leader with, in terms of leading in financial inclusion, working with one of our key partners, FSD, Africa Financial Services Deepening. We've been able to show that since Safaricom Mobile Money, which is M-Pesa, was launched in 2007, actually M-Pesa became a teenager last year. So 13 years in the market, 60% market penetration, over from 26% financial inclusion in the market to 83% last year because of products such as loans and savings, which not just allow the populace to just send money, but be able to grow their businesses and be part of the financial markets. So when we look at what M-Pesa has been able to achieve in terms of including the populace use mobile money, we can say that it's been a journey, and we can say that this is mobile money is a product in Kenya that is actually by the people, for the people, and it can't be where it is if it wasn't for the population and the people. Over to you, Tamima.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Very impressive right there. So let's go to our next door neighbors in Tanzania. Saki, tell us about some insights on your market.
Thank you very much. I think looking at the Tanzanian market, it's quite competitive as other markets also have it these days on the mobile money front. Currently, we have about 6 players in the market. 3 of them are very dominant, Vodacom, Tigo, Airtel. And we have smaller ones such as Halotel, PTC, that's the national operator, and Zanta, which is more or less a sister company to Tigo, focusing on the islands and the coastal areas. In terms of transactional values, official reports indicate that in 2019, it was about $57 billion in transactional values, indicating the size of the market. We have about 65% mobile penetration. That comes to about 38 to 40 million mobile phone subscribers. In terms of mobile money users, we are looking at about 23, 24, 25 million subscribers. So in a nutshell, that's about the size of the market and how competitive it is at cutthroat level, if I may say. Yes, the minute to delay, one takes over something, yeah.
Some good insight on what's happening in East Africa. We've heard from Kenya, we've heard from Tanzania. So now maybe let's go to Zambia. James?
Thank you so much. I think, thank you for this opportunity. In Zambia, we have three main players. We have Airtel, of course, we have MTN, and we have Zamtel. What is important to note in the Zambian scenario is actually the growth that we've seen in 2020 over 2019. I think in 2020, just the mobile money transactions in terms of value actually literally doubled to about 105 billion kwacha, which in dollar terms, that one would translate to around $26 billion from almost 49 billion kwacha the previous year. So I think that alone, an increase of 113% over the previous year, has shown the kind of development that we've seen in Zambia. And these are the records that were actually being shared by the Zambia Information and Communications Technology Authority, ZICTA, in their report of the market state of the market of 2020. So I think that's one thing that is worth noting, and it actually shows the kind of growth that we are seeing in the Zambian market in terms of mobile money.
Thank you for that. Maybe let's hear now from David. What are some insights from your market in Sierra Leone?
Yeah, so thank you very much. I know some of you may know Sierra Leone is a very small country, a population size of about 7 million people. And it's only in relatively recent times that the mobile money market picked up in Sierra Leone. Actually, the concept has been out there in the market for quite a while, but it took a while for it to come to the mainstream. So then Airtel money started in earnest, and that was sometime around 2014, and then it picked up around 2016. And Orange money came in 2017, and then everything seems to stabilize. So we've seen some massive growth since 2017 to date. But the bulk of that growth was registered in 2019 and 2020. And we're looking at a market size of a customer base of close to 1.3 million customers that are now using mobile money. Out of this 1.3 million, Orange Money Sierra Leone is the leader. We have about 85% market share. We're quite dominant in Sierra Leone, and it's being used nationwide. And in terms of our contribution to financial inclusion, we've seen a massive increase. Like I noted earlier, Sierra Leone seems to be coming on a very low scale, and now we've actually picked steam. Our financial inclusion rate in 2018 was around 20%, and you all know that the average in sub-Saharan Africa is about 40%. So we are half of that rate, which means we are way, 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 way below. Now, between 2018 and 2019, we've managed to improve in financial inclusion to 30%. And the bulk of that growth actually came from Orange Money, so to speak, because Orange Money, as at 2018 and 2018, we have an active customer base that is 1 month active of about 350,000. Today we are talking about over 1 million, about almost 1.1 million as at yesterday. So we've seen a massive growth. And if you look at it in a population wherein we have an adult population of about 4.5 million, we can say we control the bulk of the market. And we've seen that massive growth, and it's quite impressive. So for Sierra Leone, I think we started late, but we are catching up very fast.
So some very impressive figures there. And maybe just to understand from each market, and let me start with you, Rachel. So you mentioned that M-Pesa is now a teenager. So since the beginning of the journey, maybe you can just explain to us currently who are the users, and in your observation, how has this evolved over the years?
Yeah, so it's been a journey, and I'll actually just give an anecdote of how, when in 2007, what the situation on the ground was, so that we understand the usage. You'd remember, if you've been in Africa, you understand that we are a rural urban society. There's a lot of money that's usually sent back homes, because the people in the urban centers are the ones who work. Then at the end of the month, you send your money home. So that was actually the problem that was there in the country, where we have the urban populace, and not just the urban populace, you even have civil society in remote areas that have employees who are in those areas, but you need to send them money for upkeep, but you don't have a way to send it. And the only way was actually to identify someone, a bus driver, in the bus park that goes to the village, and then you put the money in an envelope. And the next time you go and visit your people in the village, that's when you get to find out, did the money actually arrive? Did all of it arrive, or did some of it get removed? So that was the problem that was there. And Vodafone decided to just, the DFID was one of the partners that had with Vodafone, and they came and said, you know, we have this group of people who work in Northern Kenya. Our Northern Kenya is a vulnerable area because of there's usually a challenge with the rainfall in that area. So there's a lot of humanitarian aid that goes there, and the workers need to be paid their salaries and wages. So that being said, we were to come up with a solution. How do we send this money to these people and they get their salaries and continue working? And that's how M-Pesa came into play. It was supposed to be sending money from one person to another, peer-to-peer transactions. So when this was tested, it was actually a value-added service to the telco. When it was tested, it worked, and the use case came along. Fine, we are doing it for the civil society. Why don't we figure out how we can send money across the country? Because we do have urban centers, which are the ones that generate the income, but we have the people in the other areas who need to receive that, the payments. So the peer-to-peer service came into being, and it grew and became very successful. And of course, for every organization, there is usually the issue of, fine, this has worked. What's the next step? What's our projection for the next use case? So the next use case was actually, the first use case was peer-to-peer, send money to other. The other things that complement peer-to-peer is deposits and withdrawals. Because for you to send money, you have to load this wallet. So deposits, how do we put deposits? So we had to create a distribution network across the country. And the distribution network was just a normal citizen. Just find someone who's able to sit in a marketplace, anywhere where people can reach. And this distribution network is the one that facilitated topping up of the wallets, so that when the person is sending money out, you top up your wallet. But when the beneficiary gets the value, they also need to be able to withdraw that value from the wallet. So those three use cases are the ones that really drove growth at the very beginning of the journey. Then after you realize that, yes, we have value in the ecosystem, how do we ensure that the value stays in the ecosystem? If I receive money as Rachel and I am in the rural areas, how do you ensure that I don't just withdraw all the money out of my wallet? Because once it's out of the ecosystem, then the mobile money player is out of the play. So we had to come up with the buy goods and services. How do you pay for goods? How do you pay for services? And this is where you look for all the players in the business industry. If you're paying for utilities, if you're paying for food stuff, how do we bring those people into the ecosystem so they can accept the payments and ensure that when I receive my payments from whoever I'm receiving it from, am I able to pay for my goods and services? How am I able to pay for utilities, electricity, water, cable TV? Those were the use cases that really drove growth of M-Pesa at that time. So after that, you bring in the people who are selling goods and services, you've brought in the citizens in the households. Then the second step was, and actually this was really driven by the government policies, where they're saying, how do we ensure that our population is able to save within this ecosystem? Because right now we're just doing payments. We're just sending here, sending there, but how do we ensure that it is also a tool that powers savings? Okay, I didn't want to say loans because the savings came with the loans. And this is what really drove the financial inclusion. But we had to get a credit partner, because you're a telco, you don't have a license to do deposit, to actually do financial services. So we had to partner with a bank that had a license, so that you can actually facilitate now the loan part of the savings, because you need to be able to give a loan, you need to be able to look at a customer, you're able to look at their payments, Are they net recipients? If they get the value, do they just withdraw immediately? Do they use it in the ecosystem so that you're able to give them a limit? And once they have a credit limit, then they're able to do what? To request for a loan. And this was really important because one of the key challenges that we've had in Kenya was the unbanked we had more than 60% of the population unbanked. And this was because for you to be able to be banked, you needed to have a payslip or you needed to have documentation. And majority of the Kenyans only had the national ID. And the good thing about mobile money was you're able to get a SIM card and register for mobile money with just your ID alone. With your ID, you're able to have a mobile money wallet. You can receive, you can make payments, and thereabouts you can now be banked because the mobile wallet that allows you to do loans and savings is a virtual bank account with one of the partner banks that has been gotten. And that's because they have licenses to do financial services to that extent. So, and that's how loans and savings grew. And this really grew the customer stickiness and reduced churn because the micro SMEs, the SMEs in Africa, and not just in Kenya, really drive our economy, yet they're not banked. So if you're able to get a loan today to just buy capital injection for today's goods, for today's maybe you sell milk and bread, you need to be able to buy the stock today. Then after you pay at the end of the day, after people purchase, you're able to pay your loan so that tomorrow you're able to get a loan again. And that ensures continuity of your business without having to borrow from the loan sharks whose interest is way higher than what the mobile money was offering. So,
thank you for that,
so that's actually the journey, yeah.
Yeah, a very impressive journey. I know, 'cause I'm in Kenya, and I can tell you for a fact that most of the times when you're walking around and you want to buy something, usually, and you'll ask, can I M-Pesa? Like M-Pesa is now synonymous with pay. And in fact, amongst the 77%, the youth population, most people will usually crack a joke that I don't have cash. Can I M-Pesa? So it's very impressive to see how far and the journey that you've taken, with the brand just being now a teenager, as you mentioned earlier. So maybe just to go to you, Saki, just to understand also what has been your journey in Tanzania in terms of the regular users of your services, and also perhaps the key elements that you've learned over the years. You'll have to unmute, Saki. We can't hear you. You have to unmute, please.
I think the story of the journey mimics what has happened in other countries. If you look at the unbanked, I mean, the availability of mobile phones throughout the country, and then the availability of unbanked population having mobile phones, of course, gave rise to a fertile ground for mobile money to grow. And so starting from the peer-to-peer transactions, which of course comes with your normal cash in, your cash out, your P2P, off-net and on-net. I think Tanzania has seen also the interoperability being the first to implement that in 2014, where you could send money across to other networks directly into their account. That has been part of the journey. And now what we are seeing is that to bring in cash in, that is where the issue of wallet to bank transactions and bank to wallet transactions came in, which has also worked very well for the medium to high value subscribers, most of whom have having bank accounts and receiving their monies through the banks. But then down the line, you also notice, as has been said, to be able to keep the money within the ecosystem, you needed to develop strategies and products for people to stay in, for money to stay within the ecosystem. That is where we are seeing these days other financial services like the merchant payments, which is growing very fast. Of course, savings, insurance, digital payments, now introduction of the app. All these have come to make sure that the money stays within the ecosystem and to provide some sort of savings, virtual savings for our people. We also notice that now the mobile money has spread to provide solutions also for the corporate market. Some are using it as their collection account. Disbursement account has always been there. some forming partnerships like aggregators to be able to bring in more people into the ecosystem. Now even have your FMCGs relying on mobile money to sell. And even now the banks also relying on mobile money and mobile phones to be able to deploy services. So not only is it competing with the banks, but also as a proper complementary services, or as a partner to the banks in providing financial services to the unbanked. So if you look at the financial inclusion program in general, now you realize that almost every financial institution is relying on mobile money to be able to fund whatever they are funding, providing their services, relying on mobile money to get a trust account to be able to also operate. And so that collaboration has been there, and I see it going forward in bigger proportions. Rather than competing, we can collaborate to serve the very low market. And look at the distribution area. It's common to find a mobile operator having about, let's say 100, in excess of 100,000 distributors across the country. In some cases, 200,000. I wonder if there's any bank that will have brick and mortar branches that way. Okay, so it makes sure that the services are available to the people. Within the stretch of a hand, you have one, and the banks are also relying on that. And putting all these things together, I believe the market is still very young. We still have a lot of areas to improve, and more services are coming along. If you look at the penetration, as I said, we are just about half the population, and therefore more and more areas to be done. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that, Saki. And maybe to you, David, because you mentioned that Sierra Leone is still largely a growing market. So what are some of those incentives and strategies that you have in place to increase the uptake of mobile money adoption?
Yeah, Tamima, it's quite interesting. I think the factors that are contributing to the growth of the mobile money in Sierra Leone is quite wide range. We have wide range of factors, some internal and some external. And we have let me start with the external. We have a very conducive regulatory environment wherein the regulators are actually pushing, to increase financial inclusion, because this is something that, is very essential for economic growth. And so that is being supported by key pillar within the central bank's strategy. And this is being supported by low KYC requirements. In Sierra Leone, you don't have to have an identification card to have to own a mobile money account. You will be limited in the number of transactions or the value you transact, but you don't necessarily need an ID card. Now, but if you have an ID card, your limit will be improved to more than to up to $1,500. So that policy, to a larger extent, helped a lot to tap into the unbanked population, who to a larger extent have been restricted from accessing any financial services because they don't have proper identification. And the other external factor that also helped was the fact that we have a low banking penetration in Sierra Leone. Only 10% of the adult population have bank accounts. It's that low. And so that provides a ripe environment for us to, to take advantage and then grow as we go along. And the other factor internally which helped us, to expand on the growth was we took advantage of the GSM network, the distribution network, by converting a core portion of the distribution network to not only be selling to pop and stuff like that, but for them to also become Orange Money agents. And within a short period of time, we're able to convert a lot of these people out there as agents who can actually transact business. And my colleagues across the table will tell you that the success of any Orange Money or mobile money operation, to a larger extent, relies on its distribution network, without which it will collapse. And if you can make good use of a distribution network, then you definitely grow. And so that was also a very strong internal drive to get it sorted. And what we also did was to do door-to-door recruitment right across. So there are a lot of both internal and external initiatives that we're taking that also help that drove the growth right across.
Okay, and maybe just now to understand the integration of payment for pay TV and OTT, maybe let me start with you, James. What opportunities have you seen that mobile money can bring to OTT and pay TV operators?
Okay, thank you so much. I can put it in the context of Zambia, and I think this applies to also many African countries as well alike. I think if you look at the population density, Zambia has probably the lowest population density that we have, one of the lowest on the continent. I mean, we are looking at about 23 inhabitants per square kilometers, which is one of the lowest. So that alone gives a challenge in terms of any kind of operator or platform or OTT or pay TV operator to actually build a distribution network. So opportunities come in now because from the mobile money side, what we've, like David has said, what has driven our growth has been to build a robust distribution network. With that, we're able to provide financial services to the doorsteps of every inhabitant in the population. So that alone makes us open to be a payment channel for OTT and pay TV operators. So harnessing our potential in distribution and also the extent of our customers as we are driving use cases. Rachel and Saki also attributed to this aspect to say, we are bringing numbers to the game, so to say. We are now able to be more attractive to these operators now to say, okay, fine, as we are driving the entertainment space, as we are driving the information space, how are we going to now do the collection? And now the integration between the operators and MNOs and mobile services providers become not only just a luxury, but an essential ingredient into how these services are going to be provided, even to the rural communities. So that is what has actually now brought in the concept of where do we now come in as payment providers to now give services to the population. And this alone is also an extended use case. Rachel started the journey by talking about P2P. Saki also talked about now how the government and other players are actually coming in as well into the space of mobile providers. Now we are now looking into context of this discussion in how we brought in the entertainment space now for us to be actually the biggest payment collections mode that we have across the continent. And I think as we are looking now, we are across the continent, we are probably on average contributing about 55 to 60% of collections of the biggest pay TV channels that we have. And we're looking to get to that adoption almost to 70% that these collectors have. In the wake of the COVID pandemic, most of the centers are not even operating at an optimal. So that has also grown the opportunity that we have for collections in that space.
Okay, and maybe to you, Rachel, what options and models have you implemented at Safaricom in cooperation with pay TV and OTT platforms?
So as James has mentioned, actually, he's spot on in terms of ensuring that the telcos are bringing in the numbers. And you see, for the entertainment industry, they've reached a point where the old model of subscription, monthly subscription, is no longer viable, is no longer tenable, because these subscribers that we're bringing into the marketplace are not, so to speak, banked. This is the mass market. And the mass market needs a product that they can pay on the go. If I want to watch a snippet of news, am I allowed to subscribe per day? Am I allowed to subscribe per product? Am I allowed to get a weekly subscription? And because of that, we're able to work together with them and give them this flexibility. Because when you look at M-Pesa in Kenya, the driver of the product is the mass market. And the mass market needs products that you can pay for on the go. You are not able to plan and say, I'll be paying for subscription at the end of the month. So that's the partnership we've been able to have, enable partners like DSTV from NASFA's group, partner with even OTT players. These are the payment gateways who just use the M-Pesa as a pipe, and they aggregate payment options and go to these entertainment organizations like DSTV and tell them, you know what, I know you collect payments from everyone. So why don't we just give you one contract so that you're able to pick from all the payment options, and then at the back, we give you a portal where you're able to just have APIs, integrate into your core, and still do proper reconciliation, proper reporting of the payments that have come through. And that is one of the things that we've really worked on with our entertainment industry, to ensure that when the payments come, even though it's a lot of small payments, because the volumes is what drives the payments, but you're still able to reconcile them properly into your core system, be able to push back a message to these customers, and be able to give them the confidence that even though I'm paying using mobile phone, I'll still get my service, I'll still get it on mobile phone, and it still works. And that is one of the key things that we've been able to achieve here in Kenya. Still working on ensuring APIs, the APIs to integrate into the core is simpler and easier for the integrators to get, but it's one of the key achievements we've had here.
Saki, now in the midst of the pandemic, have you noticed any evolution in your market in terms of the use of mobile money?
Yes, I would say. We know that the pandemic brought this thing of we are afraid to die anyway. So if you are told to stay home, you would stay home. And you see the big OTT players, you see a number of them driving the issue of stay home. But alongside, we also saw a boom in e-commerce. A number of marketplace, areas came up. And if you stay home, you need to buy, you need to be entertained and all that. And so it's also brought in an increase in the TV subscriptions. So quite a lot of increase in that area. And I think subscriptions went up. The telcos took advantage of that. And also I think as partners, we took advantage to grow some of the numbers we have. And that strengthening the mutual benefits that we have, because we need them. The telcos need the OTT players or the TV players, and they also need us. Much as we give them, let's say, the customer base to sell to, they collecting their money, the money able to be accounted for it, or being visibility and accountability. We also needed them to drive our revenues. We needed them to also grow content and to sell the content. We also needed them in some cases even for bragging rights. I'm the first to bring you this service, either Wi-Fi or Netflix or to see TV, whatever it is. We also need them. So during those moments, I think we took advantage to grow. Above all, it gave us stickiness. So the pandemic, even though negative in some way, on the other side, it brought some opportunities that I think was well leveraged. Yes.
Okay, and maybe to understand from you, David, what are your lessons in terms of mobile money uptake during the pandemic in Zambia?
In Sierra Leone.
Oh, sorry, in Sierra Leone.
Yes. For us, I think we had like a mixed situation. On one hand, we saw some positive uptick in terms of, especially within the digital space. We realized that more of merchants came on board. Most of the institutions that were not, responding well to mobile money services started seeing the need for it. And what we also realized is that, support NGOs and our NGOs intensify the use of mobile money in terms of reaching out to, beneficiaries that lives in the remote end of the country. And so it helped a great deal. And like other speakers have also mentioned, even when it comes to bill payments, people were afraid to interact, so they had to stay home and then use the platform to access some of their services, especially DSTV subscribers would use mobile money to access their services. So that went well. But on the other hand, for like most growing mobile money operators, cash out forms the bulk of our revenue stream. And because of the pandemic, and cash out involves a lot of body-to-body interaction. So because of all the restrictions, it impacted our performance in that regard. But overall, we can say when we look at what happened pre-COVID and post-COVID, we saw an increase in overall transaction volume. So if there is anything that we can learn from the COVID is that it created the opportunity for the wider population and even for the government to accept digital payments as a viable solution for future interaction. And that message now sings very well amongst the wider populace, that that's the way to go. And it even gives mobile money more credibility as we speak. So it was so that's what we learned from it.
Okay, thank you for that. Some great insights. And now to Zambia. James, anything further to add to this in terms of what lessons you've picked up during the pandemic?
I think, like I mentioned, I think it has to, in a sense, created a pool for digital financial services, because, like I think Saki mentioned, from one end we're actually staying home, which means we need to be more entertained. As you stay home, you've got a demand for services provided by the content providers. But at the same time, you need to pay for them. But again, you cannot go out. So because you cannot go out, the need for digital financial services has become actually top in terms of the used cases that you are doing that. And on top of that, I think as participants, we mentioned across that there's also the issue of utility payments. We now pay electricity, solar, and what, all through digital financial services through mobile money. So you find that our lives now, as we are now living under this new normal, has just become centered around digital financial services, as we are slowly migrating from the use of cash and having more and more use cases coming on the cashless platforms. So I think that's one lesson that we have learned. And it also brings in the aspect of now driving literacy levels, because again, the challenge that you have on the digital platform, previously you'd find that the literacy challenge was there in terms of how our customers actually adopt to using mobile phones for actually payments. But we are actually now surmounting that challenge by making sure that our menus are very easy to use, even for grandmothers and grandfathers there who cannot even understand the very basics. But you create a very simple menu flow that will make them really understand the process flow of actually even purchasing airtime and all other use cases that are there. In other countries, I think where they've got multiple languages, they've even adopted local languages on their menu and things like that. So these are the kind of innovations that we continually look at to make sure that our customers have easy of use on the digital financial services.
Thank you for that, James. And so, Rachel, at Safaricom, as you reflect on the lessons from the pandemic, what are some of the growth drivers that you'll be investing in for the coming years?
So before I answer Tamima's question, I feel I should just just emphasize what James has said about the OTT players' need for them, not just the fact that, fine, they give us entertainment, but it's become very clear that you just don't give entertainment because we are now at home, our children are at home. So they've been forced to evolve and get to the point where they need to also figure out, as part of this entertainment, how do we educate our population, our students that are at home, so that we are not just paying for entertainment, yet we have children at home who are still not going to school because we've had multiple lockdowns. And that's what I've seen as part of the evolution on the side of the OTT players and the entertainment teams, organizations in Kenya. So when we look at what we're looking at, what's the next gen? We call it next gen in our corporate in the corporate space. So definitely, I can see Shana has asked us, is fraud one of the issues we deal with? And definitely it is. And it goes back to what James has mentioned, where how do we make this service very simple to our population. Not everyone is literate. And because of that, we've been forced to come up with intelligent ways of dealing with our customers. And one of the key areas is biometrics. How do we ensure that when our customer base is moving money, because really we are a payments partner, we are a payments facilitator. How do we ensure that the money is safe, that someone doesn't call you and give you a story until you share your PIN? Because in mobile money, we use your PIN. Your PIN is your secret. But when you look at our grandmothers and our grandfathers, you'll find that PIN, the agent at the local market knows it. Their grandchildren know it. So how do we get to this point where when we work with biometrics, fingerprints, iris, voice biometrics. Safaricom has been able to start the journey on voice biometrics, but we want to go further. How do we use bots so that you don't call the call center, you sent money to the wrong person and you can't reach, and as you're trying to reach the call center, something happens to that value. So biometrics is one of the key areas that we are looking at in terms of innovation to ensure that customer money is safe, to ensure that we don't have to run so many campaigns on fraud, on keeping your PIN a secret. Tamima.
Just to take questions from our participants, we have a question here which I think Rachel kind of referenced. The question is, we all understand that mobile money must fill a role as payment for content. However, it is another attack surface prone to hackers. How big is the problem of fraud in the mobile money systems? Maybe I can throw this to you, Saki.
Just as Richard said, the issue of fraud starts with a PIN. It doesn't matter how you try to hack someone's account. Without the PIN, you have no success. And that is why it comes back to us as operators to be able to educate people on how to manage the PIN very well. There's been multiple educations. Here, I say in Tanzania, twice a week, we are supposed to educate our base on fraud. Twice a week, you're supposed to do that. Your nursery programs must emphasize strongly on how to keep your PIN and the safety. In addition to that, our platforms must go through the strictest proof of security and hack proof. Otherwise, you can imagine if one is able to get hold of the whole base, what will happen? And so the constant and the daily check to make sure that our systems are should I say, attack-free. Our systems are solid and reliable. Our systems are going through all the GSMA rules and the local rules to make sure that people have the confidence that their monies are safe. And that we will continue to do. Otherwise, once the public lose confidence in our system, we don't have a business, and we want to keep our business. So investment in that area is always good.
So we have 3 more minutes left, and I'm trying to get like this one question. It's a very good question. So for a potential OTT provider, do we still need to create separate integrations with each mobile money operation in each territory? Although understanding that some work in many countries like MTN mobile money. Who wants to take this one very quickly as we wind up? Rachel, James?
I think I'll take that since what happens is that every country is unique in terms of pricing, in terms of how they structure, even from the content provider themselves. They've got different pricing models country by country. However, the best part of it is that once you've done one integration in one operation with an OTT provider, it's actually very easy to roll it out to other countries where they've got a similar integration. So I think as we go on as operators, we are finding that we draw learnings from each other countries, which make it very easy to actually integrate country by country as we go on, despite all those pricing and regulatory differences that we may have.
Okay, thank you for that. So again, I want to thank each of you for making the time to participate in this particular panel. And again, to our participants, I hope that we have earned the privilege of your time, that you've gained some very valuable insights from the conversation that we had. So over to you, Shanna.
Thank you so much, Tamima. Thank you, everybody. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who attended the day one conference today. So just so you know, all the catch-up videos will be available as of tomorrow. And don't remember to log back in tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. South African Standard Time for day two. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to speaking with you all tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you very much, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.